It's absolutely atrocious today. On the road coming in, there was a sign saying expect delays. Kind of sums up the state of the world right now, doesn't it? So, yeah, I mean, one of those things is winding down. I remember when it first started, I was watching one, I used to watch Brian May, play along with him. You could do that in the early days of the lockdown. And before he started to bore me. But he said that it's looking like it's going to be 2 years. So he obviously had inside info. So they'll just keep finding variants and continuing at that. I think their plan was 2 years all along, and they just keep on finding variants to as an excuse to continue it going on and on and on. And also the uptake on needlecraft is not as comprehensive as I think they expected. Especially now that someone like Eric Clapton has come out. Who would have thought that Eric Clapton and Van Morrison would be the last punks? But your body, your choice. My body, my choice. Whatever you want to do with your own life, that's your business. Nothing to do with me. But it's a ghoulish time at the moment, I've noticed. Ghoulish is the word I would use. Ghoulish. I couldn't imagine what the psychic weather in Cornwall during the G7 was like. It must have been appalling, horrible. And the way they held it on St. Michael's Mount, the whole thing was like a big antenna, and as usual, all the truthers got all obsessed with it, and they're posting cartoons and memes of it and pictures of it non-stop. That's what they want from you. You don't understand that they want to harvest your energy, and they're going, can you believe this? They're not socially distancing while telling the rest of us to. They deliberately do it on purpose. They do that on purpose to anger you and piss you off. So your energy is focused on them. They deliberately do it for that reason. And I saw, speaking of ghouls, I saw the Dracula's tea bags from the Mask of the Red Death bunch from Extinction Rebellion showing up in their red outfits, walking around again and acting weird. That's that's all about those toffs who do that. You know, you hear people go, "Oh, it's like satanic." It's not satanic. It's pure theater. It's again to focus your energy on that thing on them, the G7. That's what they want from you, to focus your energy on them. And it's all about harvesting. That's why I was telling people just to completely ignore it. Just ignore it. They want you angry at them. They want, because they love burlesquing you. They love making fun of you. And I don't. That whole Extinction Rebellion thing is obviously something they set up themselves. Like, for instance, they've done this all the time. All major protest is set up by the establishment. Like the Vietnam War, that's a classic, right? What better way for the United States to get out of Vietnam, a war they couldn't win and they were badly losing? What better way for them to get out than to create a fake peace thing, bring the soldiers home, as a mechanism, as an exit strategy to escape from the war? And they could say, well, we weren't defeated. The war was unpopular at home, and the people asked us to bring the troops back, but we weren't defeated. You see, this is why the United States doesn't admit that it was defeated in Vietnam. It was an unpopular war, and the hippies turned everyone against it. But the hippies were all run by the CIA and the Pentagon. And that was the plan. That was that was their exit strategy. Very clever. And another one was CND, the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. That was about commies, CIA agents weaponizing communists in like the Cambridge Five and all those toffs, pro-Soviet toffs to create an anti-weapons lobby. And that became a way to stop it was an attempt by the KGB to get the West, and particularly Britain, to stop investing in nuclear power, nuclear weapons, atomic weapons. So the Soviets would have them all and would have the upper advantage. The Soviets got the atomic energy through the Cambridge Five. These were five toffs. I think one of them was a Rothschild, who gave the secrets of how to build nuclear weapons to the Soviets. They claim it was to balance up and even up the score, but it wasn't. They wanted to get what they have now, the Soviet planet. They wanted the Soviets to win. And see, that's what happened now. It's reversed than what it was in the Cold War. In the Cold War, and now completely reversed. Where the West used to be is in countries like Belarus and Hungary and places like that. And where the Soviet bloc used to be is in the West. They completely switched. And that was brought into full clarity by the Irish soccer team taking the knee in a game against Hungary, and all the Hungarians booing them, quite rightly. It was an insult. The Irish team went there to insult. Not only did they look, Ireland has no history in African slavery, none at all. And so something that's going on in America in that regard has nothing to do with us. But they did it as a tacky political gesture and a globalist gesture. And that's why the people in the Hungarians in the stadium booed the Irish team. And Hungarian players did things like pointing to the Hungarian flag on their jersey. It was completely showed how undignified the Irish are, and how we don't deserve our freedom. And I've always said that there's one country on earth that doesn't deserve its freedom. It's the Irish, as we are now. And so that was a fiasco, total comedy. To see them facing the Hungarian team on their knees was really disgusting as well. It was almost like they were mocking the Hungarians. So someone made a phone call somewhere. And it was disgraceful, absolutely. Going to another person's, and it wasn't even an Irish political gesture. It was just let's let you know that wasn't Ireland versus Hungary. That was the globalists versus Hungary in that game. And I'll never support the Irish team ever again after that. I'm done. And they don't represent this country. They don't. They represent George Soros and people like that, and the G7. That's who they represent. They don't represent me. Not at all. And it's the psychic weather's been atrocious ever since. I noticed that. Not only is the regular weather bad, but the psychic weather has been absolutely appalling. You just see people walking around like zombies. It's the most bizarre thing, and the staring thing. They're all staring now, I've noticed. That's something I used to always notice when I go from Ireland to Scandinavia. When you go to Scandinavia, when you walk down the street, people stare at you, just kind of 1,000-yard stare. And they won't say hello. They're terrified if you say hello, but they stare at you. They stare right at you. And now Irish people are doing that because the mask has created this additional focus upon the eyes. So so it's not I heard some lefty hag saying, "Oh well, I wear the mask because it makes the eyes beguiling." No, skank. It's just making you sinister, because you've all developed 1,000 yard stare that they have in Scandinavia. It's all about destroying. This is why the establishment and the lefties love Scandinavia, because life there doesn't really have any meaning. It's all about, unless you're a dissident, it's all about conformity. I mean, I have to laugh at these people talking about, like, I'd love to move to Denmark or Sweden. Sweden, idealised. I mean, Sweden, a country where you could sit in a restaurant and there might be two couples on a table across from you and they spend the whole evening there eating in silence and not talking. A country where people, if their neighbour is leaving the house and they leave at the same time, they'll hide behind the front door and then wait for the neighbour to be down the street before they leave. That's Scandinavia. That's how fucked up it is. And that's why the establishment, the elites and the lefties all love it. They love it for that reason, because there's a destruction of humanity took place there, mainly during the 60s and 70s, the proliferation of things like psych meds and stuff like that. And they had That's why they have huge suicide rates. They have huge suicide rates, and they always top the happiest countries in the world, and it's all bollocks. They're not happy at all. They're contented. It's not the same thing as happy, and they're satisfied. Put it that way. That's what the happiness to them is: being satisfied with their lot in life. Is not the same thing as being happy. And the soullessness, that the whole thing of no soul. I was thinking there the other day about death. Like I'm a firm believer. You get what you watch, and there's lots of evidence and post-mortal studies to suggest this, that you get what you're expecting. So if you're a Christian, you'll get to see Jesus when you die. When you're a Muslim, you'll see Allah. It could be a neurological thing. It could be a telepathic thing. It could be a real thing, but that's what happens. Now, as a pagan and as a Hindu, I expect, I know I'm going to be reincarnated. And Hindus and pagans will believe strongly in reincarnation. We come back. Now, this has consequences with the needlecraft. It's quite clear in the Torah that animals do not go to heaven. And there's no mention of pets in heaven. Your dog and your cats in heaven with you when you die, because they reincarnate. So you transubstantiate. You're a good citizen and a good role model, and you transubstantiate needlecraft, which has animal DNA in it. You're no longer fully human. So being no longer fully human, what will be your afterlife consequences? Do you think about that one? Remember, animals don't go to heaven. And remember, you won't be human anymore. You'll have animal RNA in you. That will change your material. No heaven. And if you're a pagan, and especially if you're a Hindu, and you subscribe to the concept of Moksha Patham or karma, what do you come back as? Are you a person? Or are you an animal? This is why this whole thing is touching us who can see it for what it is to a very deep spiritual degree. Because there are enormous spiritual consequences in all this. Like atheists shut themselves off when they die. That's why that's why there's so many all these NPCs we see today, these soulless voids. They would probably be filled with a person, a soul, a psyche, if we didn't have communism, or we didn't have this growth in atheism, and people had a belief in an eternal soul. They would come back, but because they switched themselves off, because they don't believe there's anything after this. You remember that now. That they switched themselves off. So that's why you need to be you atheists need to think long and hard. That's basically what you're doing, is you're decommissioning yourself, so you're not reborn. And again, this is why today I'm feeling it really strongly. There's a huge spiritual vibe, and not a pleasant one, a dark one. Well, we've been dealing with black magic ever since the line of trucks in Milan. We've been dealing with black magic. And the last year and a bit has been the very epitome of being subject to black magic. The changing of another person's, of our will, in conformity, of our destiny in conformity with the will of the black magicians, the dark magicians. And that's all that's about. And the psychic weather is pretty nasty at the moment. It's just I don't feel good right now myself. I feel even though there's a lot of good things happening, I don't feel good today. It doesn't feel right. There's the war for souls is on. You have to remember that. We were talking to someone there the other day that the war in heaven also takes place on the war on earth. And by heaven, I don't mean literal heaven. Like, I mean in the supernatural world that's reflected here on this earth. And the if the psychic weather right now is anything to go by, it's like the Battle of the Somme in the outer world, in the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, in the other place. And our psychic turmoil on earth is reflecting of that. And that's why, again, it feels it's a spiritual dimension to all of this. It feels so spiritually powerful. And no matter what you are, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, pagan, whatever, you're going to have to call upon your spiritual fortitude to get you through the next few months, I think. Because we're going to be up against it. We're going to be up against it big time. Because as they are slowly, even though they're going to keep this thing going for 2 years, I'm pretty sure of it now, but it is an exit strategy over the next 6 or 7 months to open them up slowly with occasional stops, like the one in England, what they did the other day. That's proof that it's expect delays. It's going to go on for 2 years. They'll keep playing it down, but you'll be given little bits of more freedoms. You'll be given them, and take them. Don't take what you can get while it's going, because if they had their way, you wouldn't get any. The I keep looking at those images. Not looking, thinking of the one photograph that I saw of the G7, and the Queen giving them all the orders. One must continue to look down. This kind of thing. And it really it was such an insight into the world. But yet every single one of those black magicians getting the orders from the Dark Queen, every last one of them are worshipped by so-called lefties today. This is just amazing, really. Again, the left has flipped. The Soviet world is this world. Our old world is now going to move to the east. And I don't believe it's by design anymore. I look at the Boris Johnsons, and I look at the Bidens, and I look at the Micheál Martins, and I look at the Angela Merkels, and I look at them all, and they don't seem to be in charge of themselves. There's like another force running them. I don't see that the actual person is in there. I see like another force in there, and that's pure like invasion of the body snatcher stuff. And we have this disclosure thing coming up. That's going to be nonsense. You're going to get nothing from that. Nothing. Another one of Bob Lazar's, they have secret technology. That's the most you'll get from that, as usual. So all you are very excited about that. That's all you're going to get. And I love the way these people don't trust the government suddenly trust them when they're talking about aliens. Isn't it? The irony of that, they're bastards. They lie about everything except the aliens. They tell us about that. That's like ufology for you, in a nutshell. But yeah, I'd lay low. The hermit card, I wouldn't when I say lay low, I mean go about your normal business, do your creative things and all that, but don't engage with anybody who's on the other side of needlecraft. Someone who's on that side, who's on the normie side. It'll be very dark and very painful. Just ignore them. Lie to them, humour them if you have to. But that's how I feel about it. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. It's I see some people I know have got the second needlecraft now, and I wonder about them. Like, are they going to be okay? It's just a weird thing. It's like Carousel in Logan's Run. It's just like that. It's mad. It's fucking mad the times we live in. I can't believe it. So I wish I could be more positive. I wish I had something nice. But I am positive. My Beyond Room 313 channel is doing brilliant, and you know, that's a good distraction from all this. But yeah, just write it out. Love yous all. Take care.